I just wanna see the light.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Dwell Well Family Show. This week we're going to talk about getting married young and some of the pros and cons and give a few tips from our 9 years of marriage.
Yeah, and we have finished our chicken coop, and so we're going to give you guys a little video on that right here. Hi guys, so it's been a couple weeks since we've done an episode, but we're so excited to be back. We had my parents in town, which was amazing because they helped us finish the chicken coop.
Very helpful.
Yes, very helpful, very helpful. So we actually celebrated our 9th anniversary, 9 years of marriage. Within that break, I think it was like a week or two ago, a week and a half ago. And so we just wanted to talk today about getting married young. I was just 21 and Dwayne was 20 when we first got married. And that was so young, I think, for our generation and just the culture we're living in. Most people get married like around 30. I think that's around where the average age is right now. So we were like 10 years ahead, if you want to call it that, of everyone else. And I think I don't know, what's your perception? Do you feel like it's mainly looked down on to get married young, or what's sort of the...
Yeah, I don't know if necessarily looked down, but I think everyone thought we were crazy.
Yeah.
Either that or they're like, ooh, they're going to get divorced soon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And actually, to clarify, I feel like all the people from Oklahoma and the South didn't think it was as crazy as my friends and contacts who are from Indiana and more up north. Yeah, who are great, but it's just, you really don't get married young there. Yeah. So this episode, obviously, not everyone meets the person they're going to marry when they're young. So we know that, it's not like everyone should get married young. That's up to God when you're going to meet the person that you are going to marry. But for those couples who are really young, who feel like they've met the person they want to marry, but they're just hesitant just because of their age, we would love to just share our experience. And yeah, it's the pros, the cons, everything that we can in this episode. And also give you a little bit of update on where our next plans are for the little homestead we've started here and where we're at with the chickens too. So I would love to just start off talking about where we were, what our mindset was, why we chose to get married right before our junior year of college. So Dwayne, you tell me sort of why you chose to get married.
Well, back then it was a different mindset than now, I think, but I'm happy that it was anyways. But honestly, I knew that I wanted to get married. I knew that I loved Aubrey and that I wanted to marry her, but I was, not sure if I should just do it or wait. Everyone I know was like, wait till you're done with school is basically the only thing I ever heard. And basically I knew that I wanted to go to chiropractic school. I knew I was going to be in school for a million years. And so I was kind of like, you know what, we might as well just do it now. Let's get married. Let's get it over with. I'm not going to wait 7 years. And so if I'm not waiting 7 years, then we might as well just do it now. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was like, well, we're not going to wait. We did not want to wait 7 years till after school was over. His parents, so let us first say both of our parents actually got married pretty young. His parents got married when they were 18. Yeah. And my parents were 21. My dad was 23, so he was out of college. My mom was 21. But they both have a wonderful relationship to this day. And I'm sure I know that influences people's decisions. Either you've seen a couple that got married young and their marriage fell apart, or you've seen a couple that got married young and their marriage did well. And so we tend to make those judgments based off of other couples and our own parents and the history with relationships that we have. But so that definitely influenced ours. We saw okay, we had these examples of people getting married young. I will also say that we wanted to live together, and we want, and I don't think that's wrong for that to be the motivation. That, if you're wanting to honor God with your marriage and the way that you're living your life, and kind of uphold the biblical ideal of waiting until marriage to live together, then hey, we're not going to be able to wait 7 years. No. That was just the fact of it. And so we knew, and we wanted to get married, and there were some good benefits actually. So what would you say were like the immediate benefits that you maybe were surprised by?
The big one first was financially. When we got married, we became independents. And so we got Pell Grant, or at least I did. I don't know if you did. But it was money in the bank immediately that
for school
because I didn't have an income. Yes. So that was one big benefit right away.
Yeah, for sure. So we were both in the middle of school. I had a full ride, but Dwayne had like a partial scholarship, so he got Pell Grants immediately because our income went to zero as a married couple. So that was actually really nice. I felt like that was a blessing. God was helping us there. And we will say we had help from our parents financially. So it depends on your situation. Our parents were like, you're going to be doing sports still, so we're going to still help you with groceries and some of those extra things that your scholarship doesn't cover. So we had that help, but you can certainly get a job in school if you're not training 30 hours a week like both of us were. We had that help, and that was amazing. I would say also from a athletic standpoint, and because we were both college athletes, and from a academic standpoint, we immediately had more stability in our life. Yeah. We went to bed at a normal time because we weren't trying to hang out with each other till 1 a.m. So we studied better. I think also just being married causes you to grow up a little bit.
Yeah. I wouldn't say we really went out very much before that, but it definitely made it easier not to do things late at night.
Yes, yeah, because you're with the person you were trying to spend all that time with. And so we actually both got better in our sports, and academically it helped us a lot, I think, as well. So that was some benefits. I would say now, I'll ask you this question first. So looking back 9 years now, what have been the pros and maybe what have been the challenges of getting married young?
I think like we talked about, the pros definitely were, I am still growing, but especially 9 years ago, I didn't make the best choices with time or things like that. And Aubrey was really good at grounding me, if you will, to make sure that I actually studied instead of just watch TV, or, make sure I wasn't staying up super late at night or things like that. So it was nice to have someone who had kind of the same mindset as an athlete, who made it really easy to say no if somebody wanted me to go do something that I knew I wouldn't perform well because of. So that was one thing that was really helpful, I think. As far as cons, the big one, and like I said, I didn't do much anyways. I've been kind of a homebody most of the time, but I think that you do have this shift where I always joke that I'm gonna say no, but I still want you to invite me. I'd rather be home, but still ask me if I want to go, which is funny, but I think that there's a shift where you don't get invited to do things that people know you're not going to go to because you're married and want to be at home with your wife. And not that you lose your friends, but it just looks different.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily think that was right away. I think that's a lot more once you have children. I think that like the division becomes a lot more clear once you have children. So between friends that do and don't have kids, it just becomes like your life is so different. Your schedule is so different.
Yeah.
And it's not that you don't love those friends and those friends don't love you. It's just really hard to work out a time to hang out. And also I think it's hard. It's easy to be misunderstood when people don't have children, and they maybe will feel neglected because you're not answering them or talking to them all the time, which really you don't have the time or the margin.
It's that like, I didn't text you back for 6 hours, not because I didn't want to text you back, but because I have not had my hands without something on them for 6 hours or whatever.
And I will say too, we're at the age where a lot of our friends are just now getting married. Like we're just now hitting that stage where like we're invited to a lot of weddings and a lot of our friends are getting married. And I went to one of my friends' weddings a couple years back, and I kind of had this like temptation to feel like I had missed out. I was like looking at my friends and they were all living this like young professional life, still wearing like really cute clothes that weren't 5 years old and doing all of these things and sort of living just like what seemed like a fun life to me as I was carrying around my second baby at the time. And then
making money but not having to pay for 3 kids and things like that.
Yeah, right. And like just having time to pursue individual pursuits. But then I really just looked back and I was like, that's never what I wanted though. I have always wanted to be a mom. Like that has always been a major thing for me. I've always wanted to be a mom. I've always wanted to stay home with my kids. I just always, like from high school, I had a hard time even knowing what I wanted to do. And the Lord led me to that eventually. But because I just really wanted to be a mom and I wanted to have a family. And that's what the Lord gave me. And so I realized, just because we're missing out on something doesn't mean we're not where we're supposed to be, because we want to be missing out on the things that weren't really our heart's desire anyways. So that was a whole nother tangent. But I would say I wanted to add to the pros of getting married young. You really grow up together.
That's true. Yeah.
Like you establish your values together at the same time. And it's just amazing. I listened to something that was talking about how our brains aren't actually fully formed till like the age of 25. Well, we were 20 and 21 when we got married. We're a little childish. I mean, we said some stupid things. We had some crazy arguments that we probably would not have today.
Yeah.
But we were committed to stay married and to stay working on it. And marriage is forever. And God is at the center.
And we screwed up. We screwed up a lot.
Yeah. But we grew together. And I think that's a cool bond.
That's a big con that most people say when they talk about getting married young is they're like, you have to figure yourself out before you can be with someone else. And I mean, for us, at least, it worked out figuring ourselves out together. Because once you're set in your ways, it's really hard to find someone that you're going to mesh with perfectly because, people are different. And so if you learn yourselves together, it's a lot easier to have more things that are going to mesh.
Yeah, for sure. And, the truth of it is that it's not about having things in common because, we did get to a certain point where we were no longer both athletes and we had to rediscover like what were our pursuits, what were our interests after sports.
Yeah.
And we had different interests.
And that was hard.
Yeah. But at the same time, since we had Christ at the center of our lives, like our identity, both of our identity is daughter of God, son of God, and our mission, our larger mission is to just bring his glory to earth, bring his kingdom come on earth. And so having that uniting thread throughout our lives and throughout that period of growth and figuring out who we were, definitely kept us together and I think helped us to grow stronger for getting married young. So if you are young and you are just considering, is it the wise thing or not to get married? I would, look at your life and can you continue to honor God and live biblically, wait until marriage and go a few more years. If you can, great. And if God's leading you to wait, do it. I would say if it's just this idea that it's stupid to get married young, don't let that stop you if God's leading you to that.
And if you're ready to commit.
Yeah.
I love the old saying that people used to, when something would break, people used to fix it. They didn't just throw it away. And I think that's something that is important now where, marriage is hard and it continues to be hard, even though, it's amazing and it's great and it's awesome. It is hard, and it's a continual process of learning each other and growing together and all of the cliche things. But just because something looks bad or is broken, you don't just throw it away. You fix it.
Yes.
And so.
Yes. And I think that leads us into the next question that I wanted us to talk about, which is just what have been some of the biggest game changers, mindset shifts that have transformed our marriage or just helped us so far 9 years in.
I think the biggest one is seeing the family as a team. As a team, it's we kind of talked a little bit about how constructive criticism can be hard and it hurts. And, I guess it can be helpful. But if you kind of shift that to, I am not criticizing you, I'm not telling you you're doing wrong, but there are things that you could do differently that would benefit the whole team versus I really don't like when you leave the lids off things. It's there's different ways that seeing it as a team at one seems less of oh, I'm bad or I did bad or whatever. And two, it makes it easier to change things because you realize that it's for the team. It's not for you or for her or for him. It's for us all.
Yes. And so just to clarify, and we talked about this maybe in episode 1 a little bit, but again, family teams, if you haven't looked them up, we'll probably be talking about them more. They've been so influential for us and how we've just restructured our family life. And this doesn't have to be you don't have to have kids. You should see yourself and your spouse as a team until you have kids, whether you do or don't, that you guys are on mission together and figure out what that mission is. That's a fun thing, figuring out where your gifts and passions intertwine and where you feel like God has called you as a couple to where what you want to do. And so part of that for Dwayne and I is this homesteading and the stewarding of our gifts and of our land. That's something we're both passionate about. So we're doing that together. So finding something that God's called you to as a couple to do, whatever it is.
And you're going to grow into that too.
Yeah. And so then when you have kids, if you have kids, bringing them along into that, and then everything that you do in your marriage and your home life, like Dwayne was saying, is about furthering the team on their mission with God. And so then, any you're gonna rub each other wrong and things are gonna annoy each other. You're gonna also learn to let some things go if it's just a pride thing. But then things that you feel man, we really need to change this, or I really wish he would stop doing this because it's really hurting me. You can have that conversation, like you said, with the mindset of we're trying to move the whole team forward. So I'll just give an example. Can I give an example from this weekend? So we were getting ready. We started going to church at 8:30, which is new. And takes a lot of wrangling with 3 little ones. So this weekend was our first attempt at going. We were going Saturday night. Anyways, so we're getting out of the door and Dwayne's taking a really long shower. And I'm haven't got dressed yet and I'm trying to get all the kids ready. And I just went back there and I was I need your help. I was kind of annoyed with him. I'm can you get out of the shower? Basically, I need your help. We're going to be late. So anyways, we had a nice discussion later about how really our mission as a team is for all of us to get out the door and go to church. Now, in a traditional mindset marriage, it would be well, the mom does all the things and the dad's just thinking about getting himself ready. But as a team, which Dwayne is totally on board with and a part of, we're both working together to get all of the kids out the door. So, when mom needs to get ready and dad comes in and looks to see where are areas where he can help. Oh, I can get this child ready. Instead of I'm just going to get myself ready and wait in the car while mom gets herself ready because she was getting the kids ready the whole time.
Yeah. The difference between how it might have used to have looked. Aubrey would come in and not have a mild annoyance. She would be really annoyed and yell or whatever. And then I'm annoyed. So I get out and I'm like, just mad the whole time and putting the kids' things in their bag or whatever and angry. And then we leave and we're angry and it ends up being a bad day. Whereas Aubrey comes back and she, has a mild annoyance in her voice, but is nice and asks, hey, can you come help me? And instead of getting mad about it, I'm just like, oh, what am I doing? I should have already helped with, And then I go out and I took over and helped take care of the kids while Aubrey got ready instead of just pouting and being annoyed. And then everything just ends up bad. So like I said, with the constructive criticism, those things, it just makes you realize oh no, the team needs to get there, not just me. And then I don't get annoyed by when she asks me to help her.
Yes, exactly. I think it's just all about is your relationship about your individual fulfillment and your spouse's individual fulfillment, and then how you can make that person less annoying to you, because that never works. And we've been there where you're like, I just need to pick on him so that he stops annoying me or just meets my needs better. That doesn't work. But when you both are agreed that you're a team and this is your mission, then that can just be so helpful. You literally know you're on the same team. But in order to do that, you have to be having these open conversations, about deep things, about hard things all the time. You can't just assume. I think we did this for so long. Just assume that the other person knows everything that your expectations of them. And expectations are like killers. If you have all these expectations of your spouse, and we all do. We all have these hidden expectations. But you never explain those to them except for when you're really angry. That's never going to work. So and that's something we just did in the past 3 years concerning household chores. Is we met and we were okay, these are the things that need to get done. Yeah.
For guys, I think if you are constantly having these hard conversations, one, they're not hard anymore. You're always having them, so it's normal. It's not hard to have them. Two, you don't have these conversations in that fight where you say that dumb thing that gets brought up 5 years later.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore. You constantly have these because it just puts you on the same page.
Yeah. You're just making sure you're on the same page. Yeah. You talk about the mundane things because they matter. And I think those are very big points for us. Okay. Yeah. One more kind of fun question. How do you, I'm going to ask you first.
Okay.
So I want you to say, how do you think you've grown? What's a big change, way that you've grown in the last 9 years? And then what's one major way you've seen me grow? We'll try to keep it concise.
I think one of the biggest ways that I've grown has been with that mindset shift. I don't have the annoyance that I used to have. Not just with you, but with the kids and with my parents or that guy at work or whatever it is. Our running joke was, that's my secret, I'm always angry. No one ever thinks I was angry, and I'm always happy because I'm always angry. So it's it never bubbles up. But it wasn't true. I was annoyed all the time at everything. And I feel like that shift of, my purpose and our mission, I don't get annoyed as often or hardly as much anymore.
Because you have found purpose in our marriage and in our family, as a dad and as a husband.
And I see what those things will lead to, instead of just I know what that's going to lead to. It's going to lead to me having to get off the couch again. No, it's going to lead to cultivating the team that you want. And so it's not annoying.
So and I'm just clarifying for people who haven't watched, done the skill of fatherhood
from
course.
That a lot,
Basically, when we came together and figured out what our purpose was as a couple, as a family. And then like we saw that if we would pour into this purpose, that over the years and years, we could build something really awesome with God. Like just a beautiful family and legacy. Then that gave meaning to the mundane tasks like doing the dishes or changing the 2-year-old's diaper, you know, those little things.
Yeah. I think one way Aubrey has grown a lot, and the old way was by necessity. But you do a much better job now of letting me take the lead. I think because I was pretty passive in our relationship for so long, or didn't want to make the decision, it forced you to be the leader. Basically, you had to make the decision. And then when I would want to make a decision or chime in, you're kind of just like, you know, you're so used to making the decision that you wouldn't really let me. I don't feel like you do that anymore. And like I said, it was partly by necessity, but I think, you know, the same thing, like figuring out our team and our position on this team has made it much easier for me to be the leader. But, you know, you still give me, you still like help me make those decisions. Obviously.
Yeah, I'm not just
it's
like,
not just like, okay, you do your thing and tell me what's happening. You
Yeah.
know, you help me with it. But if I say that I think we should do something, then you're pretty much all in whenever I say that. And not that you weren't before, but it feels different.
Yeah. I mean, I think for women, it helps to know that like your spouse is going in a it helps us to know that there is a direction forward. And so, for men, I would just say like, and women, like just again, have those meetings where like, this is our vision for our marriage and for our life and for, you know, you don't have to have it all figured out. Only God knows, right? But like, these are our gifts. This is what we're passionate about. Like we know, you know, this is what we want to be doing. And so, I think, and we had a discussion like with my parents or something about how, you know, in Christian marriages, a lot of times all you get is, well, the husband's supposed to be the spiritual leader. The wife's supposed to like, you know, be encouraging and supportive. And like, that's all you get. And so then what that turns into a lot of times is the girl feeling resentful to her husband for not being more spiritual, you know? And then I feel like guys are just like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, how am I supposed to be the spiritual leader? How am I supposed to lead my family? And girls think it should look this certain way. Like, well, he should be doing family devotionals every morning. And like, maybe that's not where your husband's at. Maybe that's not his thing. Maybe that is your husband. But the point being like, this is having a mission together with your husband and like, trusting his vision, having that is a real is a tangible way for him to lead, and something that he can understand, right? Do you feel like
absolutely,
right? And I can understand. I can wrap my mind around like, okay, you know, this is where we're going. He's the coach.
You know,
of this
and I
team.
think too, a lot of times that leads into that. You may do your morning devotional with the family, like it may end up leading to that, and a lot of the mentors that I've had, it does end up leading to that, but it's really
leading
nice
to more like spiritual practices.
But it's nice to have that like tangible first step, because I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not the guy that's just going to go sit and read my Bible for 30 minutes in the morning or anything for that matter. But the more that we've kind of leaned into this, I do start to feel a pull. It's like, oh, I need to know these things because I can use those for our mission.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it can lead to that. Yeah,
for sure. So that was a whole tangent, but
how about me?
Yeah. Let me go on. Let me tell. She's like, tell me what's good about me. So many things, babe. So many things. Okay. So the way that I feel like you have grown, or should I start with myself?
Yeah, start with you.
Okay. The way that I feel like I have grown in 9 years, and maybe, I'm sure there are many ways. 2 things that come to mind. Number 1 is that God has really, really convicted me about my words. And if you want your significant other, your children, if you want them to be a certain way, not that you can like change them, but if you want them to act kindly and, you know, whatever, call out those things, like speak life into them. And I heard this so many times, but I don't know. It finally clicked. Holy Spirit, it finally clicked, and it was like, focus on the things they're doing that you love and compliment those things and call them out, and not just call them out, but like think about those things, especially with your spouse, because it's so easy to go down the road when you're mad at them to just like feed that anger with like, well, he always, and that one
Always
time,
and
and
never.
then, and instead, like, just when they do something that you love, like think about it and then compliment them on it, and like continue to tell them the things that you love about them. And even if they're not that great at that thing yet, if they've made like a baby step towards it, if they made a baby step towards it, like call that out. And this works really well with kids too, because you know what? People become who. Okay, the recording stopped, so we're back to finish that thought. But I was just thinking, people become what we tell them they are. So it's really important to call out their God-given identities and the positive in them, because if we want them to become more of that, they're going to become what we say they are, and we want them to become more of the good things, right? So,
Well, I think that's important, especially with kids too, because like someone is going to tell them what their identity is, and it needs to be you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's one way, I guess, I think that I have grown. And another way, did I say the second way was, I was going to give you another way. Oh, just that I had learned basically to someone had told me, like, love what you have to do. So instead of focusing on what you're not getting to do, or, maybe even with your spouse, what they're not, focus on what they are, and learn to love the life that you have. And so that can be like learning to love the small things like the dishes and the laundry, and just embracing and being thankful for the life that I have, instead of the one I don't yet have. And the same thing with my husband. So, and for you, like not focusing on what they're not, but all the good things about them, and just that goes back to calling out the good in them. Yeah. So on that topic, the ways that I feel like you have grown over the last 9 years is just really like getting into action with how you serve our family. And so I know there were times in the past where I never asked him to help in specific ways. I just really got mad at him. Like I think I would just tell myself that he was this, that, or the other, lazy, whatever, But really what was amazing to me is when he would ask me, when we would be in a fight, well, how can I help you? And I would just always be so exasperated at that point that I just don't know, And then we finally got to a point where we like had a conversation, especially with big changes in our life, when they would be coming, like when we were about to have another baby, where I would really say, well, these are the ways that you could really support me and like take this task from me and do it. And one of those things was like make breakfast in the morning for our 2 older kids while I was nursing the baby, because I knew I was going to have to be nursing in the morning. And, he would need to make breakfast. And so that just simple things like that, we had that conversation. And then I've just been amazed at how hardworking he is and how willing he is to pick up the slack and do those things. It's like he just needed, I really think, again, that this was just a lack of communication. It's not like a character fault. It's something that was there all along. He just needed to know, like, this is my job, right? And like once we had talked about that, he does it. And it's so amazing. I feel so served and just blessed by all the little things that he does. Like I used to be like on Mother's Day, like, what do you want for Mother's Day? And nothing. I just want you to do, like, I just wanted him to do things.
You need to clean the house.
Yes. And it's now like we've had a conversation and we don't have to have that as much because he helps all the time. So that's really amazing. So yeah, do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so.
Okay, so that's what we want to share for the marriage wisdom. And I think next time we want to talk about like rhythms and how to structure that and how to like just sit down with your spouse and come up with a plan to manage your family and your household a little better. Yeah. But tell them how the homesteading is going.
Hobby homestead.
Yeah. So tell them about the chickens.
The chicken coop is done. Chickens are staying out in there and they're loving it. And the kids are loving getting to go out and play in the run. Yeah, the chickens are doing great. I think our next projects we're thinking about. I'm looking into, excited about bees. I want to get bees, but those are kind of hard to get a hold of right now from everything that I've seen. So the big thing we're really focusing on is our garden. We have a raised bed that we built that by next spring, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We want to have 6 of those built. And so we're going to use we're doing basically what's called a deep litter with the chickens where you only clean it out less often.
It's like 3 to 4 inches of whatever your litter is. So we have pine shavings in the coop, and then you let the chickens just go to the bathroom in there, and you put in, we put in what's called bokashi. It's just like a compost starter. And then the chickens scratch it up and do like the stirring. And so the pine shavings with the poop is basically turning into fertilizer and being composted while the chickens are in there. And so every month you just add a fresh bag of pine shavings on top of that layer. And the microbes are like working. And then about 3 times a year, you take all of that out and it's great fertilizer. So we are going to use one of those empty beds right now to store all of that fertilizer because it's away from our house so critters won't get into it. And then hopefully we'll have all of that for next spring to really help with our garden. So we're excited about that.
Yeah. And if we can get bees, that'll help with the garden too.
Yes. So. We want to do like bees. That's a whole nother topic. Dwayne's like also on the goat train, but someone needs to like convince me what's super good about goats.
Have you seen them?
Yeah. Anyways. So yeah. And I did want to tell you, in case you're interested with the chickens, we have them out there and it's like 96, 97 degrees out there.
Yeah, during the day.
But they're doing good. They're doing good. They're 5 weeks old.
They got a little shade. So they're doing good.
They're in a really good shady spot. We keep their food and water out in the run during the day because that's a way to like keep it not gross in the run. Yeah. Keep the run from getting really gross and keep their food from getting gross. And the only thing we do is we do put water into their coop at night since it's so hot so that they have a little bit of extra water right now. But they've got plenty of windows. They all
you sleep in the window.
Oh my gosh. They all roost up in the window and it's so cute. It's so, so cute. We're hoping one of them is not actually a rooster. They were supposed to all be hens. So just say a prayer for us that they're all hens because I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to say bye to the rooster because I don't think we'll be keeping it. But hey, part of the life. So anyways, that's all we got. And I would love to hear your guys' questions. If you're someone who's considering getting married and you're young, don't hesitate to comment below or reach out to us on our Instagrams. They're also linked below. We would love to chat about it. We would love to meet and share our experience or just talk to you if you'd like. And we'll see you back here next week to talk more about rhythms and managing your family.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
I just wanna see the light.